So today I'm going to be replacing the rear backing plates on the F-250. I got some parts here. So this is what was left of the old backing plate. All rusted out. So I bought two new seals for the rear axle. This is the Sterling 10.5 on the F-250. This is a 2008. There's the model number on that one. I got two O-rings for the front of the axle seal, and I went with the preloaded backing plates. I had the old brake hardware, but I figured this is going to be a big enough job for a couple extra bucks. Let's just get it. I went with the Dorman ones. I think the reason these fail a lot, let me show you. If I flip this over, look at how the steel is like bent over there. It's not all one piece, and then, you know, so I think water gets in there. So I think I'm gonna maybe protect it with some fluid film this time, see if I get a little bit more life out of it. I mean, I know it's gonna attract brake dust and everything, but this is a pretty big job coming up, so hopefully it'll be the last time I have to do it. Okay, I'm starting on the driver's side here, and we gotta get the caliper off. I'm just gonna loosen up the caliper bolts here, and I'm using for that a 17mm socket. Now the brackets that hold the caliper on, that's a 13/16, the exact same one of your lug nuts. We're going to remove them completely and then prop the whole caliper assembly right down here. Before I take that bolt out all the way, I'm going to try to compress the piston a little bit. And just a matter again, a screwdriver or a pry bar right in there. Go high and low because, you know, it is a double piston. And again, I'm not trying to get them all the way back. Just compressed a little so I could relieve a little pressure. Lower bolts out. Yeah, I got it nice and loose, so make sure you support it good. Okay, so the whole, everything's out. And I set up a little stool here just to take the weight off of the hose. Okay. Next I gotta remove the rotor, and a lot of you are gonna have like weld rusted on. I just had this off last weekend when I ripped apart the rusted backing plate. So this emergency brake cable is going to need to be released. So before I start pulling everything apart, and I have some leverage with everything attached, I'm going to try to get that off. So what has to happen, this spring needs to be pulled back, and then there's like a little conical shape mechanism in there that has some tabs in it that slips out of here. That's what locks it in. So you need to pull this spring back and hold it back. So I just got a screwdriver here, and I'm just going to kind of get it off a little bit, back it up, and then hold it with my hand. And then I just take a little wrench, small one, little 3/8 inch, just to get it on there so I could get some leverage to push it back. So there, so now I'm on it. So now you see, now I could use some leverage, and you could see the tabs there. And I sprayed it with a little bit of penetrant oil because I'm gonna have to close these tabs right here. So grab yourself some needle nose pliers and try to work these tabs in. Yeah, this is a tricky part for sure. Well, I started fumbling with this for a bit, and this is a bear to get off. So you see, I still got the wrench in here to hold back the spring. I sprayed a little PB blaster in there to loosen up the rust, and I put a pair of vice grips on here so I could rotate it and get it moving. Now, it appears all my tabs are closed. This is supposed to slip back and out, but I can't get it to move out. So I'm trying to like kind of just work it a little bit without breaking the tabs. So you see, here's a tab here, but there's a little notch on this end that it should slip by. So I'm just trying to go around here and squeeze the tabs down as I rotate a little bit with the vice grips. All right, I removed the vice grips because I got this pretty loose. I could do it by hand by holding onto here, and I think I'm getting pretty close because I'm seeing some more movement. Can't get all these tabs to close. There's a tab. Try to press that one down. Okay, good. I got that underneath. Well, I wish I did a better job filming this, but it was just taking too long and a lot of manipulation. So basically what I did, I kept rotating this with that PB blaster in so I could get past the tabs. You see over here there's a slit. That's where the whole mechanism is going to pull out of. So I rotated it so I could see which tabs were still sticking up. When I saw them, I took a screwdriver and I just pounded them down with a hammer, and then it slipped underneath that ear, and then the whole thing popped out. So I didn't pull it out yet because I want to try to get some of this on camera. If not, I'll do it when I get to the other side. But basically that was in, and you see I rotated as much as I could, pounded the tabs down, and then as I started rotating, that opening right there kind of closed the other tabs. So you see now it's out. Now I could hold this spring back, pull it out all the way until I get to the wire, and then I could slip the whole thing out. So there, now it's released. Look at how much tension is on there. Okay, let's get this axle removed now. So we're going to use a 18mm socket on these. So now we're going to pull this out. So I'm just going to get a pretty small screwdriver. Just pops right off because it's only held on by this one seal. Let's pull this out. Just support it the best you can. Try to get it out centered so it doesn't scrape on too much. And the oil looks pretty good. I changed it about 30,000 miles ago. If you're interested in seeing that video, I have one posted when I changed the rear differential fluid. I'll post a link to that. Okay, with the axle removed now you have the retaining ring here, and we're going to use this this special tool. You get this online. I picked up this on Amazon for a little less than 20 bucks. Here's the part number for the one that I got. All right, so you see it's got these teeth in it that are going to grab into the teeth on there, and we're going to spin that off. So that goes in here, and I feel where the teeth line up, right there. Okay, so with the socket in place, I'm going to take a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, and driver's side's reverse thread, so this should be righty-loosey, and it is. So that clicking is normal. Okay, so there's the retaining nut. See, it's got a key slot, so you line it up correctly, and then that tool goes into these tabs and it spins on. Now I want to get the bearing out, because when I remove the whole hub later, there's going to be this outer bearing and the inner bearing, and we don't want it to fall down. Let's see if I can dig that out. it's there. There we go. Okay. So there's the outer bearing. I'm going to take this to the bench and check it. Now, I didn't buy bearings because I think they're in pretty decent shape. And if I need to get them, I will run to the store while it's all apart. Now, I can see the inner bearing in there, but that'll get removed from the other side. Now we're going to remove the whole hub, and to do that, there's 4 15mm bolts. I've already put a little lubricating juice on them to help break them free, and I'm going to go remove that now. Well, sure enough, my jack stand is in the way, and I can't get my impact wrench on there, so I'm going to jack the truck up again, remove the jack stand, remove this while it's only on the jack. Okay, so I got the jack stand out of the way. I'm going to give this a hit with the breaker bar first. There we go. There we go. Now, it's going to be a little tight for the impact wrench, so I'm just going to wrench them off. So I got them all loose, and I left the nuts right on the edge of the bolt flush because I'm going to give them a tap with a hammer. Alright, so I hit on the ear here, which is good. Alright, so that's all loose now. Alright, let's finish getting the hub off. See, if the shoes were still on, if the old backing plate was, I'd have some leverage against the shoes, but they're not, so I'll just try to use these bolts for now. There we go. And you want to make sure you support the hub because you don't want that bearing to come out and come crashing down. Then I will most definitely be buying a new one. Alright, so there it is. And if I tilted it the other way, those bearings would fall out. So I'm going to keep this face down. Okay, so you can see part of the old seal is still on there. We're going to pry that off soon. And here's the hub in the bucket. Now, here's your oil slinger. See, everything fell apart on this seal. That's why you always need a new seal. Right. Yep, it's opening up. So I'll work my way around here to open it up a little bit. Alright, so I got that separated pretty good. Let's give it a whack this way. And that's it. Okay, now there's my inner bearing, rolling around nice, looks good. Oh, here's the oil slinger. Okay, so you see there's the tabs on there, and they're going to go down. So we're going to keep this nice and safe. Keep this separated from the other one, and then I'll inspect the races. And they look good. So the only thing left now in here is the inner race, the outer race, and if I were to replace them, you would have to pound them out. But they're in good shape. I'll make sure the bearings are in good shape. From initial inspection, they look like they were. Okay, I need to get the rest of this old inner seal material off. So I'm just going to take a little pry bar here, go against the head of the bolt, try to work it all the way around. It's coming, just slowly but surely. see, do the opposite side now. Yeah, right. And that's the rest of that seal. Now I can slip the whole assembly off, and we're going to clean that up. I still have these bolts on from when I was pounding the back out. And everything here is all going to be replaced. So I don't even have to worry about this mechanism if it's seized up. Jam it back on. Put it back. So I'm going to come nice and easy. Try not to touch that so I don't mar anything up. All right, now remember we had to get this brake off. So. Definitely wear some glasses when you're doing this, because this thing is going to go flying. Here, so you see what I did? I got under there so I could pry it back. Now I'm not fighting with the spring. And there, and I took it off. All right. Out with the old. And you see, if you were going to reuse this, you would have to take this latch out. And see, that's all seized up. I mean, I haven't used the parking brake for months, so you would have to get that freed up, put it in a vise, spray it down. But this is all on the new mechanism. So here's about 25 cents for the scrap yard. Okay. I guess off camera, I'm going to hit this with a wire wheel, clean everything up really nice, spray some brake clean down, and I'll come back for reassembly. I'll take the hub over to the workbench and show you how we reinstall all that. Now I'm going to install the bearings back in. I inspected them real good. The races look nice and clean. There's no abrasion on them. I checked every wheel. They're spinning really good. So, being that the race is in there already, this is the inner now. Cone side down, of course. It's going to slip right into the race. And I cleaned everything out real good. I cleaned the surface with a little scruffy pad, and I wiped it with some brake clean. Then, of course, the slinger. Oh. Slinger tabs down. Then I'm going to take one of our seals. That's going to go on there. I'll use a piece of wood to tap that down. Before I do it, I want to put a thin layer of lubricant on there. So I'm going to lubricate everything with the axle, the gear lube, the 75 1W40. That's what's used in Sterling 10.5. And some may wonder why I'm not packing the bearings with grease. It's all going to be bathed in the gear oil anyway eventually, once it starts coming all around. So I would prefer just to use this as a lubricant. So I'm going to dump that in. We're going to give it some nice even hits until the seats. There, you could hear the change in sound. Okay, so that's seated all the way around. Now that looks perfect. That looks perfect. So here we are back at the truck, and I took a wire brush. I took a brass wire brush to knock down some of the scaled rust, and I took a steel brush and got all the faceplate, wiped it all down, buffed it up with a little scuffy pad, wiped the whole thing down with brake clean, so it's all prepped and ready to go. So I'm gonna put a little fluid film. Actually, this is PB Blaster's Surface Shield Rust Protectant. I like this stuff. It's basically fluid film made by PB Blaster. It's lanolin based. It's a good lubricant, and it also prevents rust. But northeast rust, always a problem. So we'll put a thin layer of this on there. And throw some on the backing plate too. I mean, if it gets on the brakes, I mean, who uses their emergency brakes anyway, right? And I'm just going to wipe it in with a clean paper towel here. Now where the pins go in the back, that's probably the most important, because that's where they always rust out. So give a little bit right there. See? On each of the pins. Right there and there. And there too. Anything to prevent all this constant rust. Now remember, this is the driver's side, so calipers to the rear. I'm going to start these bolts. Now, you know what I forgot was to put the brake cable on. Yeah, I think I'm gonna, oh, I got it. I got it. It's just a matter of twisting it around. Now all I did was put it on that latch in the back. Here, I'll show you. See, all I did was I got it on that latch there. I still need to get that attached to there, but I'll do that after everything's mounted on. I got all the bolts started. And I got my torque specs written down over at the workbench, so I will check them out and I'll report back what those are. Okay, I got all 4 bolts on now, and I used my 1/2-inch drive ratchet, and I put them on with the socket just until they snug down, and now I'm going to torque them. This is at 150. So I got the torque wrench set to 150. I think that'll be good. 150 is pretty tight, but I know that these were pretty tight coming off, so. Okay, so there's 150 on that. Now I will come to the top one on this side. Always torque in some kind of a cross pattern. Okay. And that's it. Okay, it's time to get the hub back on. So I'm gonna put a little lube right on there. Smear it around. Try to be careful not to let it drip on the brake at all. Just a thin layer just to help that seal go on. All right, so I put a little lube in there to help slip it on. But before I do that, I'm gonna put it on its side here. And I'm gonna get some more, I wanna get some lube in this channel, because remember, I didn't grease these bearings. So that little channel that's in there, we wanna try to fill that up with some lubricant. Okay, so I put a good amount in there. I'm gonna rotate it around. So we'll get that bearing nice and saturated in this. See, then what we're gonna do also is tilt the other side of the truck. So all that, so everything flows down into the other side. So we're gonna make sure that we keep that centered so we don't put too much pressure on the bearing. We're just going to push it in. Yeah, I could still see that channel, so I could get some more in there. See if now next we got to get the outer bearing in, And again, I'm not gonna chintz it with this lubricant, being that I'm not packing these with grease. So I'm gonna fill it right in here. Let it seep in. Get a little on the outside. Tapered end going in. We're just gonna push that in. Just until it seats on the race. There you go. You see how the whole thing lifted up a little bit? Turn it, make sure everything's good on there. That feels good. That feels good. A lot of lubricant in there. I'm giving it a hard squeeze to squirt it back toward the bearing and then rotate it. And I have the truck tilted pretty significant that it should fall in. Now we're going to get the axle nut. Make sure it's clean. Okay. Now I got to find the keyhole, but mine is right at 9 o'clock. So I'm going to put that in there. Make sure I get that lined up. There it is. Now we get our special tool. Line up those tabs. Now remember, to tighten this, it goes this way. Yeah. It starts clicking. And keep rotating the hub. Keep rotating that hub. Okay. So remember, lefty tighty now on the driver's side. So I'm doing a little bit by hand. Okay, so now this calls for 60 foot-pounds, and then if you're using the old bearing, you back off 5 clicks. If you were using new bearings, you would back off 7 clicks. Let's get the old torque wrench set to 60 foot-pounds. Okay, there we go. 60 foot-pounds, change the direction. As we're doing this, keep rotating the hub in the opposite direction. There we go. Okay, there's 60. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Time to slip the axle back in. I sprayed a little brake clean in all the holes. I got my blue Loctite on all the bolts ready to go, and I put a new O-ring around here. And again, I'm only using the lubricant, the gear oil lubricant. Just keep feeding it through. There we go. All right, now I got it past there. And there, the spline's just lined up. And then we're going to tap that in. Make sure, and then you might have to rotate the hub a little bit to get the holes lined up. Grab your bolts, get them started by hand. All started. Grab your 18mm socket. And put it on the lowest setting, the lowest torque. Just want to get them started. Cross pattern always. Okay, that's just the lowest setting. I'm going to torque them down by hand, and my torque specs on these are 80 foot-pounds, but I'm not going to set them until I have the wheels back on the ground and load down. Now, I did forget to get that that emergency brake cable hooked up again, so I'm going to do that. This should go on a lot easier than it came off. But again, pull that spring back. Pull that spring back all the way. Come forward. Get that cable in there. Okay. Now, this has to seat, and once I pull it back, it should fall right into place. God knows I got enough PB blaster on there. Okay, there. So that's seated, and if I pull back on the spring just to show you, you can see all those tabs are down, or hopefully you can see that. So I knew that would go in easier than it came out. Time for the rotor to go back on. Smeared some silver never sees on the hub. Let's get that guy on there. I know this looks a little crusty. It's still in good shape though. Okay. Get this caliper back on. Got the bolts here already. Line up hole number 1. And line up hole number 2. Snug, and this gets tightened down to 150 foot-pounds. There we go. Snug those back up. Brakes back on. Get my lug nuts started. Let's not forget we're gonna torque those axle bolts too. So let's get these lug nuts torqued down. 165 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Nope. Good. Let's lower this down to 80 foot-pounds for those axle bolts. Nope, that'll work. Oh, that's not tight at all. 80 foot-pounds, not a lot. Especially after you just did 165 on the lugs. But that's why we used the blue Loctite. Okay, I'm going to take it for a quick little spin before I do the next side. See if it feels like there's any drag on it. And that's it.